Hi guys, I'm gonna just go over your homework that you were given on Friday. Friday we did a new lesson. It was unit 6.1 and it was parallel lines. So let's go ahead and hop into our modules. I have it on student view, so hopefully you can see what I see and we can go over the homework together and then make sure that we have everything clicked as done or as viewed so that you can go on to the lesson for today. So when you hop into your modules, you're going to see all of the awesome things that we've done so far this unit, and go ahead and scroll all the way down to parallel lines, chapter 8.1. So you might see what we're going to do today. It should be gray, but let's go ahead and just make sure that we have all of our check marks that we need. So unit 6.1 parallel lines, chapter 8.1 in your textbook, we reviewed the objectives on Friday, your must do, should do, and aspire. We viewed the page, therefore we have a check mark. We did our lesson together, we viewed the page, we have a check mark. And then we did a check for understanding. We did a Google form before you went on break. Once you've marked that is done, you should have a check mark. Finally, you had some homework problems. So mine doesn't have a check mark right now. I need to mark it as done. So go ahead and go in this. And before you mark it as done, I just want to show you a couple of things, and I do want to go over the assignment step by step since I'm not here live on Zoom to do it with you. So again, this was assigned on Friday, due today, Monday, April 11th. It was page 179 to 181 in your student workbook, number 1, 3, 4, and 6. So let's go ahead. There's two ways you can submit this. The first one is to take a peek at the textbook. So I have the PDF here in the file or in your page, but student annotation is the first option. If you wanted to, you're welcome to go ahead and click some of these tools, draw, write, do whatever you want to solve your problems. You're welcome to do that as a way to submit. Or I usually don't do annotation because I'm not as good at writing with some of these tools. You're welcome to upload it as a file. So you would go to file, upload your file from a screenshot like you've been doing all year and hit submit. Okay, let's go ahead and go over the actual assignment. So again, page 179 to 181, number 1, 3, 4, and 6. And if you're like me, my short-term memory is a little crazy right now. So I'm probably going to scroll up and have to remember 1, 3, 4, and 6. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and zoom in. So follow along with me. If you did the assignment, make sure that you are correcting your answers. If you did not do it, or maybe you didn't finish, make sure that you are following along with me as well. You want to see it, you want to hear it, and you want to physically do it. All right, number 1 are the line segments in each parallel. So just by looking at these, you might be able to tell yes and no, but remember, we want to think about the definition of parallel. So parallel means two lines never touch. They're never going to intersect each other. They're equal distant. So this first pair for letter A, you have these two lines where even if you decided to, or you have these two line segments where even if you decided to extend them forever, they're never going to touch each other. They're equal distant apart. So these are parallel. For B, okay, well, they're not touching, but if I were to extend these line segments and just make them a little bit longer, they eventually in space would end up intersecting or touching each other. So for B, no, those are not parallel lines. For C, again, looking at the picture, to me, they don't look like, or they look like they are parallel. Again, they are equal distant apart. If I were to extend these, they would not ever touch each other. They're parallel. And then D, they're already intersecting. So for D, we're going to say that no, they are not parallel. Okay, so they can come in horizontal form or they can come in vertical form. It does not matter, just as long as they never touch each other. All right, number 3, let's hop to it. For number 3, your answer may vary. Just look around for examples of parallel line segments, list 6 examples. So look around the room. In front of me right now, I have some tile that's parallel, some wood floors, I have doors, I have windows. I know you're not seeing these things right now. I'm happy to show them to you. But yeah, let me show you some of the things that I see. So right now, the window, it is going horizontally across as parallel lines. This mirror, here I am. We have parallel lines going horizontally, going vertically. I'm going to show you also the floor. We have parallel lines here and parallel lines here. Okay, so totally up to you what you want to put for your examples. Just make sure they're things in real life. I know on Friday we also talked about those things in our notes: railroad tracks, the yellow lines in the middle of the road, the lanes on a track, etc. So just think of some in your life. Okay, number 4, draw a line segment parallel to each segment shown. Okay, so you have online tools that you're welcome to use from our notes. We have a protractor and we have a ruler. In your blue bins, you may also have a ruler and a protractor. I know sometimes it's nice to have the physical manipulatives. That's fine too. I'm going to remind you, without using tools, I'm going to remind you what you would be doing. I just don't have tools accessible to me right now. So for A, if I was going to draw a parallel line segment, there's 2 things I can do. The first way is a ruler only. Okay, ruler only. I would line up my ruler here. I would line one edge of the ruler up, and then your ruler. So pretend this is a cute little ruler here. Okay, here's a nice little labeled ruler. I have my ruler. One edge of the ruler would be on your line or your line segment. And all you do is you take your pencil or your pen and you trace the other side of that ruler. And you would end up having a parallel line segment. Rulers have parallel edges. So you can do that for any one of these examples. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that real quick. So I'm going to pretend that I'm laying my ruler edge here. I'm drawing my ruler. I trace the edge along that line segment, and then I trace the other side as well. All right, let me do B and D. I know I'm kind of going out of order. B, it's on the diagonal, so you are welcome to, again, you're lining your ruler edge up. And then you go ahead and you say, okay, I'm going to trace the ruler edge on my line segment. And then I'm going to trace the other side. I have 2 parallels. Obviously, you take the ruler away and don't leave it here, and you would have 2 parallel segments. And then again, I'm going to line up my ruler here on that line. Here's my beautiful ruler. And then I go ahead and I trace the line segment on the edge of the ruler, and then I trace the other edge of the ruler, pick them up, and then you're left with parallel lines. So the first way we learned was by a ruler. The second thing that we learned is using a protractor and a ruler. So again, I don't have my online tools accessible, unfortunately, but when you use a protractor and a ruler, the first thing that you do is you are going to draw a point. So draw a point. Okay, I'm going to draw a point on line segment A. It doesn't matter where it is, can be anywhere along that point. The next thing is you're going to line up the protractor and you're going to mark 90 degrees. So I'm going to take, if I had one, I would take a protractor. Remember, the center of the protractor needs to line up, and remember the horizontal line on your protractor needs to line up perfectly to your line segment. So I would have a protractor something like this. And then if it's in the center, you're going to have 90 degrees. So what you'll do is you will mark 90 degrees up top. Okay. Now you choose another point. You repeat those steps. So I'm going to choose another point on the line segment. It does not matter what point it is, but I'm then going to take my protractor and I'm going to line it up again. So the center of my protractor is going to be at that point, and I have my protractor. I'm going to mark 90 degrees again. Remember, parallel lines are separated by 90 degrees. And then finally, you would pick your protractor up and you would connect these 2 lines together, and you would use your ruler to draw your line. So we would have these 2 parallel lines. And even though I have my blue and red protractor, those lines look pretty darn good. I'm kind of pumped about how they turned out. Okay, I'm just going to do one more this way, just because, again, I don't have my tools, but I do want you to remember how to do this. So let's do C, since C is vertical. You can still do a vertical line. I might just turn my page a little bit, but let's pick a point. So I'm going to pick a point on my line. It can be any point my heart desires, but I'm going to go ahead and pick one and draw one. So there's my point. I'm going to grab my protractor. I'm going to line up the center with the horizontal marking of the protractor lining up with my segment. So I've got my protractor. It's so beautiful. It looks like a sun. I'm going to mark, so you should have 90 degrees somewhere up here. I'm going to mark 90 degrees with a little black dot. Okay. So you have those two dots. I'm going to do it again. I'm going to pick another dot. I'm going to pick the one at the edge. Why not? Okay. I've picked a new dot. I'm grabbing my protractor. I'm centering it and lining up the horizontal pieces. So your protractor should be something like that. Once again, I'm marking 90 degrees on there. Remove your protractors. So take them away, take them off. Doing the best I can here. And then the last thing that you do is you're going to connect using a ruler. You connect your dots. So you should have a line like this. And this line is parallel to your original line segment. Okay, you can do the same thing with B, do the same thing with D. If you forget how to do that step by step, again, check your notes from Friday. You can either look at my lesson Google slide deck or go ahead and watch the video, but it's got those steps in there for you. And then finally, number 6. So I'm just going to name a couple on here. You might have some different ones. If you picked some and you're not sure and I don't name them, then please feel free to shoot me a message and I'm happy to let you know if you were correct on your parallel lines, because there's quite a few on here. So it says, look at the diagram, find as many pairs of parallel lines as you can. We've got FD and GC. You can add HB and IA. Those are sets of parallel lines. You of course could have chosen the smaller sections. So you could have done like FE, GM, LB. You could have done it like that as well. There is another section going across. FM, you could have said is parallel to HJ. You could have said EM or EL or EK is parallel to DE, DB, or DA as well. Remember, when we write parallel lines, we would write it as, I'm just going to pick a set just to remind you how we do this. If I'm going to say that EM is parallel to DC, remember you write EM is parallel to DC. And sometimes this is a trick that I use if I'm like, oh goodness, what is that symbol that I use? Or today we're going to move on and talk perpendicular, and sometimes it's confusing which is which. If you were to write the word parallel, Parallel, it looks just like the symbol that you use. So that's the trick that I use to remember what the parallel symbol is when I'm writing about some line segments or some lines. So just a little trick for you. All right, so that is your homework from Friday. If you haven't submitted yet, please do so. The last piece of this, and again, please feel free to shoot me an email if you have any questions or touch base with me the next time that I see you. In order to move on to today's lesson, you don't have to submit, but you do have to scroll up and mark as done. Once you mark as done and then you click next, you should have access to the modules for today. So let me go ahead and show you those. When you scroll down, yep, Friday was marked done. Now I have access to Unit 6.2, Perpendicular Lines, which is Chapter 8.2. All right, thanks for tuning in.